Welcome to the Chris O Show. We're really happy you're tuned in to listening to us wherever you're listening, whether you're watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify, checking out muskokaunlimited.com or chrisoshow.com. They're one and the same, so check them out. We appreciate you listening. Today I have a very special guest that comes from a Canadian iconic family, Mary Frances Leahy, who is the daughter of the icons Donnell Leahy and Natalie McMaster. So let's get into the show. Mary Frances, thank you for coming, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
That's awesome. I know you've been busy, so I do appreciate your time. You're on tour now. What's the tour been like?
The tour has been crazy, crazy awesome. We've been kind of going since the middle of March. We've been home for a few pockets, as we're doing kind of in the US and then Canada, and
Yeah.
then later this we're going to Europe. So, yeah, we've been home for pockets, which is nice, but we've been going. Some of the shows have been, just me with my new music.
Yeah.
Some of them have been my parents' show, which I'm in the band for that. And then we've done like maybe two like family shows. So like a good mix, but it's really good.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And
And then
it's Leahy and Natalie McMaster. And one of the things I want to say was it's so cool that you've been able to do, and your whole family really do music together and make some really like great music together without getting sick of each other. Or have you been sick of each other?
I would say generally we do a good job of not getting sick of each other, but let me tell you, like there can be times, that traveling with family is overall really special because when you're on the road for months at a time,
Yeah.
it kind of brings the one sense of home on the road, and you
Yes.
have all these eyes looking out for you, and you have all this help, and you have all that support,
Yeah. Yeah.
when
Yeah.
you're doing that tough traveling or the whatever.
Mhm.
Which happens a lot. You are in the same vehicle, airplane, bus, hotel room with the same eight people for months. So like picture that,
Yeah, I
like
can imagine.
it does get does get a little crazy, but no, it's very special.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I asked that because I have worked with family members before, dad, mom, wife, right? And so I'm like, I could just imagine, and we at least got breaks from each other. I could just imagine being on tour where there's not a lot of opportunity because you're just city to city, right? So, you know,
Yeah, exactly.
now your new album's out. How it's not new, but it's new, right?
May
And
31st. So yeah,
yeah,
pretty
pretty new. And making that, what was that like? Because it's a solo album, right? This newest one. What was it like, going on your own, making your own album?
It was pretty crazy. Kind of like something I would have never expected. And briefly, mom and dad were this is a long story, but to be brief, they were recording their album during when COVID started, and
Yes.
so COVID started. They were partway through recording. They bought studio equipment, which they swore they'd never do, um, and to kind of to finish the album.
Yeah.
And my mom said to me one day, "You should do like a traditional fiddle piano album. You can do the fiddle, the piano. It won't cost you anything. You have the studio right here. That might be a good way to pass the time, like
Yeah.
kind of thing." And what started as that kind of grew and became like an all original instrumental album with like lots of musicians and a whole different thing than what we set out to do. And I don't really know how we ended up from where we started to where we finished. Like I
Yes.
don't, it kind of just happened naturally, which is a
Yes.
beautiful thing. Meeting new people and like, oh, try this and try this. And
Yes.
uh, but yeah, it's a pretty special experience, especially looking back on it now. When you're in it, you can kind of be like, what's going on? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Looking back, I'm like, I'm pretty proud of it. And it was very special.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And people can pick it up anywhere. It's on, and I'm sure it's on Spotify and it's all Apple Music, everything, right?
Yeah.
People can go
Yeah.
listen to it and grab it wherever.
Yes, of course.
Perfect. I just want to give the shout out, let people know where they
Thank
can get
you.
this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So one of the things I was gonna say, so there's a couple really cool things that I noticed. I mean, there's one thing you're gonna be coming to the Algonquin Theater in Huntsville in a couple of days. I'm gonna post the podcast on Wednesday, so people have a couple of days if they haven't got their tickets yet or whatever to get involved. And you've been here before as a family, no? Like I, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, what's it like, when you go to these different towns again? Do you ever get a chance to say, oh, you know what, I wanted to do something? Or is it just such a rush that you had to just like kind of fly through?
Very good question. Generally speaking, people think, like non-musicians think that touring, oh, you get to travel and you get to see the world and we get to see, well, we know airports very well. I could tell you different stores in all the airports. I know airports, I know hotels,
Yeah.
and I know backstage. Honestly, we don't get a lot of time to, especially on tour when you're not in a city for more than like 24 hours,
Yeah.
you're sleeping or you're at the venue.
That's
And
it.
so, generally speaking, we don't get to travel around the city too much. When we're close to home, um, like in Ontario and stuff, oftentimes the schedule will be different. Or if we're like in the middle of like a trip away, maybe, and there's
Yeah,
one
yeah.
show, there are circumstances, you know what I mean? Generally speaking, we don't really get out in the
Fair enough.
once it's a day, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I mean, we'll see, like, we'll see. I don't know. I find out the itinerary like as we're driving there or whatever.
That's awesome. That's
No, but
awesome.
I'm excited. It's nice, slip in close to home,
Yeah,
slip out. You know what I mean?
exactly.
Yeah, very nice.
Now, because you're in Ontario, you probably, if you're off, you would get a chance to go see things you want to see pretty
Of course.
easy, right?
Yeah,
So it's not like we're far from you. But I always ask that question because some people do take some time, and then other people are like, man, I'm just rocking. I can't do it. It's so hard.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right. So another cool thing about this tour, and it's the last question about the tour, then I wanted to ask you a couple of more kind of musically intimate questions.
Yeah.
But I saw your guys are doing a cruise. Like you're going and playing how did that happen?
I don't know how that happened. Well, I do. We got a phone call,
Yeah.
and just, I guess, people say networking. When you're just
Yeah.
in the industry, you know people and people know you and
Yes. Yes.
Um, and so they asked us to do, I think it's like a week and a half or 2 week, I'm not exactly sure, cruise on the Rhine River
Yeah.
in
Yeah. Yeah.
October, and it's amazing. I think we have a couple performances on the boat or on the cruise ship, and then we just get to tour around. So that's kind of like the opposite of what I just said.
Yeah.
We're gonna get to experience, the trip and travel and see all the beautiful places. That's one of the huge perks, when you get
Yeah.
a gig like that of this industry, is that the very cool opportunities and the cool people you get to meet. And so yeah, very excited about that. That's in October.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and I just saw it because I was like, "Oh, where are you playing? What's coming up?" And I saw that and I was like, "That's pretty cool to get to do, right?" Like,
Yeah.
not everyone gets to do something like that. So good for you. That's awesome. Um,
Mm.
the other thing I wanted to ask you, because you know you're still young, you're only 18 now, right? And you've done you're a fiddler, amazing fiddler, obviously. You know the piano, what's some of the other instruments you've got under your kind of arsenal right now?
Mainly fiddle, piano, and then I sing and I step dance.
Okay,
So kind
there
of
you go.
a four thing. I mean, I've tried. I have a little issue. It's not an issue. It's that I keep falling in love with instruments.
That's
And
awesome.
I mean, yeah, I know. But like for example, I've said this before. People have asked me about this. My mom and dad got my sister a bass.
Yes,
And she liked the electric, so they thought we'll get like a stand-up bass. So
yeah,
they bring the stand-up in. They just rented one to see if she liked it. Hated it. No, I don't like that. I like electric. She hated it. I loved it. I got blisters that night on my hands. I couldn't play the piano because I was playing the bass.
yeah,
And I'm, oh my gosh, mom, I want one of these for Christmas. Just get me. Like, I want this so badly. I just love it. And I was like jamming. I didn't even know how to play, just like, and and that happened with a few things. There's congas behind me. I don't know if
yeah,
you
yeah.
can
I see
see.
them. Yeah,
And and so I just keep falling in love with instruments. And I mean, it's great.
yes,
But like, I'm like, I only have so much time. Like, I
yeah.
want to get really, really good at something, not like half good at a bunch of stuff.
Everything. Yeah.
So my mom's starting to say, okay, no, no, don't even look at that. Like, no. So yeah,
That's
paying
awesome.
attention now. Yeah.
That's so good. But you know what? So I was gonna ask you, like, are there other ones? And it's like obviously bass, like the drums, and so
Everything. I
and
love it
you're
all.
just you want to try them all, and you know what? You'll have time as you grow, right? So you
Yeah,
got to just
exactly.
compartmentalize, however you say that.
Yeah,
Anyways, you know what I mean.
I
Yeah,
agree.
you got to just focus on one thing at a time, like your mom says, and
Mhm.
then because she knows, so
Yeah,
she,
you know,
she's she knows what she's
yeah,
doing and talking about. That's awesome. Um, and so yeah, so obviously, we went over that, but I was wondering, like, in terms of musical genres, with that love of trying new stuff and trying new instruments, is there any like music you'd like to try as you move forward and as you grow as a musician, a singer, and an artist?
yeah. I mean, I'm kind of in a rabbit hole right now of like Latin music,
Nice.
Cuban,
I love it though.
Brazilian, like all of the above. I'm just kind of like all filling my mind right now. So I'm
Nice.
loving kind of combining that with my Celtic music and whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but I would love to get more into like African music. I know African music has, I've started to hear some of those rhythms with like the
Okay.
African stuff,
Yeah.
but I kind of would love to get more into that world. I mean, there's so many African music, opera. I'm dying. I'm hoping in Europe I get to go to like a beautiful opera or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
I'd love
That
to
would
see
be
that.
sweet.
Yeah, and I'm really into orchestral music right now. I
Nice.
mean, that's broad, but yeah, endless things. I'm worried. I said to my mom the other day, I said, my life is not gonna be long enough. Like I just have so many things to do. So
That's
that's
awesome.
a good perspective rather than the opposite. But I'm still like, oh, I want to look back and be like, oh, I did all the stuff, you
You
know?
will. You'll do
I,
it. You're gonna
yeah.
do all of it, and you're gonna just keep growing and doing it for sure. If you have that much passion and love for it, you're gonna do it all,
Yeah.
right? And yeah, I hope you do get to see an opera when you're in Europe. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
There, like that would be phenomenal. Like
Hmm.
there's some serious passion behind that stuff. So that's so good.
Yeah.
That's so good. I was trying to think. I think we went over most of it. You were answering questions within questions, which is sweet. But that's good. That's so good. So what was the last thing I was gonna say? Oh, okay. So there was two questions I have left that kind of on my notes, and then and stuff just that popped. One that popped in my head, then one that was on my notes. So the one on my notes was on your tours, and you've toured a lot, like with the family, like kind of on your own a little bit, etc. Are there any spots that you could be like, those are my favorite places to play, whether it's big venues, small venues, certain towns? Is there anything where you're like, man, I love doing shows in a place like this?
Yeah. There are a few. And for us, we all have our little places that we love,
Yeah.
and it has to do with maybe one place is like, oh, the crowd's always amazing there, or
Yes.
food is a big one. If a place has good catering, we remember,
Yeah.
right? So like,
Yeah.
oh my God, catering at that place is amazing. Can't wait to go there. And the band will have their itinerary of the tour and be like, oh, I can't wait for the 15th because on the 15th, we're at that place.
Yeah.
Um, so a couple, I mean, there's so many. I
Yeah.
don't want to, but off the top of my head, the Stone Mountain Art Center in Brownfield, Maine. It's this quaint little place, and they have amazing food and amazing vibe.
Nice.
Very unique venue, and the back, it belongs to an artist, Carol
Okay.
Newman. She knows what the artist likes. So backstage, they have all the old instruments, and like, it's like a
Nice.
playground for musicians. That one, the NAC in Ottawa, I always love.
Yeah, that's a
Um,
great venue.
Go there every couple years, and it's always a treat. I don't know. I think it just feels homey and like
Yeah,
it feels
it's a gorgeous venue. I've been in there. It's
beautiful.
gorgeous. Yeah.
And I love Ottawa as well. There's so many, like, I don't know, to pick them out. There was one in, I think it was Erie, Pennsylvania, and there
Yeah.
was a water park beside it. And so
Oh,
the kids should
cool.
always be looking forward to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for different peoples, or for the guys, maybe there's like a great music store in one
Yeah.
of the city. Yeah, so everyone kind of has something different that makes the venue special or
Nice.
memorable. You know what
That's awesome. No, that's awesome. But I love how you have that, right? It's everyone's got their own little thing, and
I mean?
it could be certain vibes, or like you said, the one in Maine where an artist owns it, so they know how to treat the other artists,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's so cool. I love that kind of thing. That's so beautiful. I'm gonna have one last question, and I'll let you go for your day. Um, the last question I ask everybody this just because I love this question and I've been asking it since for 20 years since I started in the media business. Um, if I didn't know anything about you or your family or anything, and I
Yeah.
said, why should I come to one of your shows? What would you say to me?
I say it's a party.
Nice.
I don't know. That's the first thing that comes to mind. My dad asked me that the other night on stage because we just did a show in PEI, our
Cool.
family show, and
Yeah.
I'm coming back in 2 weeks to do my own show.
Yeah.
And he said to me on stage, we did not plan this backstage. He said, "So Mary Frances, why do they want to come to your show?" And I just said, "It's gonna be a party."
Perfect.
And quite frankly, I'm a yeah, I'm a step dancer, but more than that, if there's music on, I'm just like a grooving, like I just have to have
Nice.
my body in the music. And so in a lot of what I write, I feel like and a lot of what I play, like drums to me are
Yeah.
so important and having that groove. And if I were at my show, I'd be doing this the whole time. So just saying, yeah, it's a party. I
That's
don't know.
awesome. That's a good answer. That makes me want to go. Make everybody want to
I
go.
know, it's the first thing that came to my mind.
No, that's a great one. And your dad stole my question. No, anyways.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, that's a great question to ask people, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
it when you ask people why should someone come, it's a very honest answer you're gonna give. Like this is
yeah,
why you need to come see me. So that's so cool. That's so
yeah,
cool.
yeah. Great
Um,
question.
on that note, I think we're good. I think
Beauty.
we got her done and we figured it out. Anybody who wants to see Mary Frances, Algonquin Theater, July 19th, if you're in Huntsville area. If not, I'm gonna actually put a link to and put a list on the blog post to all the shows she's got coming up all over and some details there, plus links to the Spotify to listen to the new album and everything like that. So we're gonna hook it up. And thank you so much for joining me today. I know your busy schedule and I appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me, Chris.
Awesome. Awesome. Bye for now, everybody.